Hello, welcome to The Cutting Edge, brought to you by Schmidt Brothers Cutlery and Homemade. I'm Chef Krista. I'm joined today by Chef Mary in the chat.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this amazing class.
Welcome, welcome. We are so excited today to be partnering with Schmidt Brothers Cutlery. I think we are also going to be joined in the chat by someone special from their team.
Oh, yes,
Paulette.
Our friend Paulette. We love having you here, Paulette. Hello.
Hello, Paulette, and welcome. Welcome, everybody. And this is so exciting because today we're going to feature some knives and feature talking about how to take care of them, how to do your best with a knife, increase your culinary confidence using the Schmidt Brothers cutlery. So excited to share also today we are making spicy tuna sushi rolls. I mean, this one is just, once you know that you can do this at home, the doors blow open and you can make all kinds of sushi at home. I really am excited for you to learn to do this. And we are also going to make a Sunomono salad, which is that traditional cucumber salad that goes alongside. So, like I said, this is so great because you can learn to make sushi at home. I had a brief stint earlier, many moons ago, where I was living on Nantucket, and we had access to fishermen getting off the boats. They'd sell their big, beautiful pieces of fish, and we were a bunch of broke sailing instructors, and they'd give us the scraps. And this is a perfect kind of recipe to use the scraps from that tuna or from whatever really fresh fish you've got and make a sushi party. Make a sushi party happen. It's really important to have sharp knives to do that. So we're going to focus on doing that. Today's knife set that we're using is called the Delta 14. This is the beautiful set over here. It is with this beautiful walnut handle that the Schmidt brothers put together. All the different knives. We have a bread knife, a santoku knife, 6 steak knives back here, and super important, we have some kitchen shears, which I'll talk about later too, having kitchen shears that are dedicated to only being used in the kitchen, not to kids' arts and crafts projects. So we will talk about that. First things first, with our knives, I'm going to invite you to hold your knife in a new way if this is new for you. Today, we're going to talk about holding our knife properly. We're also going to give it a quick sharpen before we get going. So if you have some questions about knives, put it in the chat so that Mary can holler at me or Paulette can answer you. But first things first, with our knife set here today, I'm going to use the 8-inch chef's knife. I love a chef's knife because I like how it rocks through food. So this rocking motion is what we're going to be using when we cut with a chef's knife. That changes if you're using a santoku knife. It's not so much of a rocking motion because of the way the blade is built, and maybe we'll use that later. But for this knife, I'm going to ask you to pinch around right where the handle of the blade and the knife tang, it's called, meet. So we're going to pinch there and then wrap your fingers around here, but know that the motion and the control of the knife comes from the pinch point. And this wrapping is just after that. That's how you're guiding it. So I really like to ask people to try this as a way to hold their knives and to think of it as an extension of your arm so that you're not doing a lot of wristy motion. It's an extension of your arm. So the other biggest part about using great knives is having sharp knives. So there is a saying that a sharp knife is a safe knife. I really believe that. People kind of underestimate, I think, the amount of slippage that happens from a dull knife. What happens is that point, instead of being pointy and going through stuff, turns curved, and it sort of skates through. So we want a pointy edge knife, and Schmidt Brothers has a great little countertop sharpener. So using this is very simple. I don't know if you can see in there, but there are 2 little V's inside this black part of the little tool that we just put on the countertop. This side is coarse and this side is fine. And what you would do is just put your knife straight down in there, running through the coarse side first, a couple of times, and then going through the fine side. All right, so, and maybe Paulette can speak to this in the chat, but there are angles that are designed for sharpening, and chefs get very particular. Once you've reached a certain level, you're like, oh, I want mine at a 16%. This is a very standard, and what you're looking for is you'll see that the shine on the blade itself changes a little bit. You can see that as I tilt it, and it's just going to take off any nicks. What we should have done was have some real dingy knives here, but we don't because we use them too much. So we don't really have any knives that are too dinged up, but you will see little tiny nicks in there if your knife gets sort of tossed in with other metal utensils. That's when you start to see those nicks and boo-boos. Yes, any questions? What do we have?
Yes, Helen in the chat is asking, why do we sharpen the coarse side first, or with the coarse side, rather?
With the coarse side, that's to take out those bigger nicks. If you feel like your knife is pretty sharp, you can go straight to the fine side.
Graduated.
And yeah, you can graduate to the fine side. The other thing I would say is some people think about keeping their knives sharp with that honing steel, which is really just for honing. It's not going to give you back your edge. That will take off just nicks. And that's the one, like Uncle Ted is at Thanksgiving and making a big show of it. That's a honing steel. That's not going to sharpen it.
Got it.
Okay, so, and you really only need 4 or 5 passes on that, on the steel, whereas this, you might take it through a couple times. Awesome. Any other questions on this sweet little sharpener?
Not on the sharpener. Paulette is letting us know that with shears, do not use these shears to cut things out of construction paper.
Yes.
Because if you do, your wife who works for Schmidt Brothers will be very mad with you.
Yes. There are scissors that live in a special drawer at my house too, that these are only the kitchen scissors. You'll see some ways we might use it later. I use them sometimes to cut food that's being persnickety, but always it's just food. These are a great pair of shears, and with your shears, I would say take them to a professional to get sharpened.
Ooh.
Maybe Paulette has a different idea, but for me, I don't mess around.
How often would you say?
So I suggest, and maybe Paulette has a different suggestion, but for shears, I do like quarterly. And with knives, I do the same. I do like a quarterly rotation so that I'm never without a great knife, but sometimes someone will be off getting a little tune-up.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. You have a whole fleet. That's great.
I have a handful. All right, so let's get started here with our recipes. Like I said, we're doing a cucumber salad and then this sushi roll. So first things first, we are going to take our cucumber here with that nice pinch grip. This is that salad, Mary, that's like a little bit of vinegary. It's a little
tangy.
A little tangy. It just goes really nicely. So when I teach knife skills classes, I like to ask people to find a flat surface. So that's what I'm going to do first, is put our cucumbers on a flat surface. You're going to stay here and wait your turn. And we're going to use this hand like a claw. So tuck your fingernails in. You don't want fingernails in our cucumber salad. We're going to tuck those in, and using the rocking motion, and this is where I feel like this is where kitchen time can become a meditation, where you're just working on that tiny slice. A lot of people will ask me, oh, I just want to be fast. Well, to be fast, you have to be good and you have to be safe. So work on being precise with your cuts first before you add in speed. And so I'm just pushing through them in this like little rocker motion. And I'm going for thin here. And we're going to do a funny thing to these. We're going to salt them. So cucumbers are full of water, which is what makes them so refreshing and delicious in the summertime. And if you need to get that last thin slice, ooh, look at that guy. You make a little tunnel over it, okay? The other thing that I usually have, and I forgot today, is a bench scraper, which is your knife's best buddy, because we're not scraping with the knife. We're not If you need to scrape with the knife, scrape with the back side of the knife.
Always.
Because we just sharpened it,
Always.
right? So then we're going to make our pretty skinny cuts here on this cucumber. And I'm using like an English cucumber here. You can use the Persian ones. I think those are a little sweeter. You can use American ones. Those are even more watery. So yeah, go ahead and just make it a meditation of very thin cuts on your cucumber.
I feel like cucumber salad is one of those things that just gets better in the fridge over time. Like day 3 is when my cucumber salad reaches its sweet spot.
Yeah?
Yeah, definitely. I love it when it almost turns into like a pickle soup, but that could just be me.
Nice. Okay. So you can see here that it is pretty glossy, and we're just going to sprinkle about a half a teaspoon of salt over it, give it a toss, and set it aside. I wanted to do this first so that we could show off our knife and also get this. This salt is just going to pull water from our cucumbers for about 5 minutes, okay? And then we're going to rinse them so that salt doesn't stay on there. All right. Mary, can you scroll down for me, please, on the notes there?
I sure can. So sorry
Awesome.
about that.
No worries.
We're answering questions about Persian cucumbers in the chat.
Important different
stuff.
cucumbers. Yeah, and we're going to also use our cucumber in the roll that we're going to make, and we're also
great.
going to do an avocado in there as well. So we've got that going, and our dressing for that is in a small bowl here. We are just going to put this 1/4 cup of rice vinegar and sugar, and it's going to, I think it's a tablespoon of sugar, right? A little
Sure
bit.
looks like it. Yes, 1 tablespoon.
1 tablespoon of sugar.
I'm reading it too. I know. Let me make.
Actually, no. My mistake, friends. My mistake. This is for the rice. This is for the rice that we're gonna. My mistake. That we're doing our sushi rice. Hold on, but it's still gonna be vinegar in here
Oh yeah.
for our cucumbers momentarily.
For the folks in the chat, do you have a favorite like side dish at a sushi restaurant that you need to have with your sushi? Because mine is the cucumber salad.
Oh yeah, I like seaweed salad too.
Ooh yeah.
Yeah. So I really like that. And what else do I like? I also really love just edamame.
Yeah,
And
you can't beat it.
You can't beat it, and a miso soup, just really traditional,
the
right?
classics.
So we are going to, here we are. We're going to switch gears to the rice. I just want to mention the rice briefly here, and then we'll get back to cutting. So I cooked my rice in advance. We have sushi rice from the rice cooker, 2 cups. It's traditionally rinsed, but it stays sticky, and then this is where we're going to put our vinegar and sugar combo. And that is going to give it just a little something, something. When you think about going out to a sushi restaurant, and you're like, why is their rice just so good? It's because they add a little bit of this vinegar, sugar. Almost some places will make it into a syrup. We're just using the heat of the cooked rice for it to absorb throughout the rice. So you want to get that into your rice and give it a good toss. And you're going to have made your rice in advance because you want it to cool off and you want it to absorb those flavors before you start trying to spread the sushi rice onto your nori, onto your seaweed sheets. So have that ready and cooling, and now that's just going to sit and absorb that flavor for a minute while we make the filling. All right. So tuna and the tuna filling. Let me grab the tuna from the fridge. All right, so friends, when we are making a spicy tuna roll, you want to find really, really great fresh tuna. So I was talking about this before we started class. People are like, well, it's gotta be sushi grade, it's gotta be sashimi grade. I hate to break it to you, but that is a term that was invented in marketing. So there is no grading department on fish. What it is they want to assure you, the seller wants to assure you that it's safe. And so there's nobody regulating this. What you want to do is make sure that you get your tuna from a place that you trust. So if you can make it down to the docks, if you can make it to a fish market, they will have something that says sushi grade. Now, when they catch the fish, oftentimes in order for them to feel safe and comfortable with selling it to you as sushi grade, they will take the skin off. They will process the fish right on the boat, and they will flash freeze it. Because what that does is 15 hours of freezing kills any kind of parasites that might have been in the flesh of the fish, okay? So when they say sushi grade, typically it means that it went through this freezing process, but it's really just a name. So if you can go to a place that you trust, I know my folks, they find out what day the fish comes in at their local co-op, and that's when they buy it. So this is a great opportunity to make a great relationship with your fishmonger. Go for it. So we have our tuna. It also often comes frozen, which can make it easier to cut, and you can, use it frozen, or you can let it thaw, but then you want to use it right away. This is beautiful, beautiful. We're going to have, for our spicy tuna, we're going to make it into a little dice, right? So we're going to cut into this. You could do this kind of sashimi style if you were going to put this over rice. We're going to cube this so that we make pretty little cubes for our spicy tuna concoction, our mixture for the spicy roll.
And Chef Krista shared with me before class a great link about how to prepare raw fish at home that I just shared in the chat with you all. We love to demystify things here at the Cutting Edge when it comes to our ingredient sourcing. Why not make friends with your local fishmonger? Why not?
Make friends, figure it out. You can use tuna, you can use other fish, like a bluefin or an ahi tuna. And this is an ahi, that bright pink.
What's the sort of defrosting process, would you say?
Very gently.
Okay.
So I would, if it came vacuum sealed, which it might, I would put that into a bowl of tepid water and then just change that water out a couple of different times, and you'll get it to defrost. You don't want warm water. You don't want to cook it, obviously. So we're making this into just a little bit of like if you've ever had a steak tartare, same idea here. Okay, and I'm going to do this piece and a little bit of the other piece before we make our mix. And like I said, I'm rocking this knife through here to make chunks about even size. I think that's another important thing whenever you're cooking, is to consider the size of your cuts, because it affects, in this case today, it affects sort of how much sauce to meat ratio or flesh ratio that you're going to have in your finished dish. But if you were cooking this, you're also thinking about how much cook time you have. This is a beautiful piece of fish. Okay, and we're just going to make these little guys. Any other questions or concerns or thoughts here?
Paulette's saying how lucky she is that she has an excellent fishmonger about a 20-minute walk from her house. It's just key. I mean, we don't live in the studio, but we, in a way we do. Pike Place Market, the famous Seattle market, is just steps away. So the famous guys that throw the fish around, we see them, we know them.
Yeah.
And it's a really great connection to have, for sure.
And I wish that I lived closer to be able to get over to the docks, to the tuna docks. Because they'll put out a little sign as the boat comes in, and you can have, literally right off the boat fish.
That's so cool. Those sushi nights in your past must have been so fun.
So you'll see once we make this roll here, you'll see the great thing about it is it makes a quantity, and you can really set people up in a little. I'll show you when we're doing it, but you can set people up in a little production line and just make so much sushi. I apologize to those sushi restaurants that are like, no, they're killing my business. but you can make a ton of sushi at home.
We're making the business accessible, people.
We're what?
We're making the business accessible. You can do
Right.
it at home and
We're
then go out to compare.
We're supposed to eat at least 2 servings of fish a week.
Ooh,
so here's a great way to do that. Okay, so for our spicy tuna mixture, I'm just going to set that to the back for the moment. We are using Kewpie mayo, which is a Japanese mayonnaise that has a little bit more tang. I don't know, how would you describe it? Has a little bit more tang to it.
It's almost more buttery. There's just more flavor. Like I can tell when I'm tasting Kewpie mayo.
Yeah.
And I love it in all of my Asian dishes. It's that plus sriracha on top of pretty much anything.
And that's what I just put in. So
perfect.
A little bit of sriracha, and then this is a combination of sesame oil and soy sauce in here.
Yum.
So we are going to put that in and mix it up. And then we're also going to, we're going to add in some scallions to this mixture as well. So a quick mix here. The recipe also calls for lime if you'd like, which I do love the thought of lime. I just didn't have any. So for that little freshness. And the key is that that ratio of you want to taste this really sweet tuna, but you also want this spicy flavors to come through. Okay, so that is that. Can you see that? It's pretty lovely. It's like a little tuna tartare bathing in spicy tuna sauce right there. So I'm going to switch out my cutting board. Here we don't want to put vegetables on that. Give this a quick rinse and wipe because I do love this chef's knife. We could also be using a santoku knife. Those are designed for mincing, dicing, chopping. They just have a different feel, and I've never, once you kind of get a knife, they're like your favorite, right? So find your knife that's your favorite. We're gonna add a chopped scallion to our little mix here, and again, I'm just rocking it through, and then we're gonna prepare the other parts of our spicy. I'm going to save these green tops for maybe garnishing at the end. And then the white part of a scallion is the part that has more onion flavor in it, and I personally like that, so I'm including that in here. And the green part has more of a springy, like grassy flavor, and I also like that. So I use both. Some people have strong feelings about that, and that's okay. But I'm going to use both, and I'm just chopping right through them and mixing them all up into similarly sized pieces so that I don't get a big bite of onion flavor. All right, and then back of the knife, and here we go. Okay, and we'll mix that in. So that's part of our mixture there. And then for also including in our rolls, we're going to make some matchstick. We're going to make some matchsticks out of our cucumber. And we're also going to cut an avocado because that buttery avocado-ness. So we're going to, again, make a nice long line so that we have a flat surface. And then you can, if you'd like, you can peel your cucumber. I personally like the little splash of green in the sushi roll, so I will keep it, and we will just make these beautiful, thin pieces of cucumber here.
What's your favorite sushi roll, Krista?
This is one. I also love an eel roll.
Yeah, we were just talking about a nagi in the chat.
Yes.
Yeah, it's one of our favorites.
I love an eel roll. I don't know. I think I like to keep it simple, and I am, there are so many great YouTube channels and places where you can learn about the what's what of sushi. So I am in no way an expert on it, but I did used to live on a boat and catch fresh fish. And
close to an expert. How much closer?
You can't argue with like a fresh caught mahi. And the wonderful thing is, well, this is sort of wonderful and sad, but like a mahi-mahi, they mate for life. So if you catch one, if
that
you
is
catch
an
one,
amazing fact.
stick the lure back over the boat because the mate is in the water with them. So, get them both. Get them both at the same time.
That's great, actually.
Isn't
to know.
that sad?
Yeah, that is sad, but it's also gorgeous to feel connected to the circle of life.
Yes. Yes. All right. So going for a flat surface and going for just that crispy part here. Okay. So now I like to make everything ready for the rolling process. So we get our cucumber, and then we're going to go to our avocado. So I don't want to start anything in the chat here, but I'm going to show you how I would recommend you as a beginner cut your avocado. I have friends who work in healthcare, and there is now an official injury called avocado hand. So we're going to avoid that. So some people might go ahead and cut it like this, but with such sharp knives, I'm going to recommend that you instead scoop out. This is a perfect avocado, by the way.
Avocado's a paid actor, people.
Yeah.
It's really good.
This was a premium. So I'm going to recommend that you scoop out your avocado first, like this. Perfect. And look at that.
Wow.
So satisfying. And then we're going to make our avocado into nice, long, beautiful. This is like butter. You don't even need a sharp knife. No, you do need a sharp knife anytime you're cutting.
That was a trick question.
It was a trick question. Look at this. That is so pretty. So I'm making nice slices, and I'm keeping in mind that we don't want to overstuff our sushi, so we do want them nice and thin. Hello, beautiful. Okay, green, my favorite color. We're going to start with that for today, what we're doing today. And I'd say we're pretty close to getting ready to roll here. So are there questions we need to answer first?
Just people freaking out over the mahi-mahi tip. It's just so, eating both is so important.
Eating both.
Nothing, no questions in the chat so far. Feel free to ask us anything. And also, this might be a good time to remind folks that we will have a giveaway here at the Cutting Edge. If you want to win a knife set valued at $250, you're already in the drawing if you've already signed up for the club. If you're not, sign up for the club. And you have to attend class to claim your potential prize on the 24th. Don't worry, we'll mention this a bunch of times.
Oh, yeah. A knife giveaway? Yes.
Yeah, sign us up.
We're going to do that. Okay. I am going to ask, Mary, when you have a second,
yes.
Could you run and grab, it looks like I forgot the dressing for this.
Absolutely.
They're right on the counter over there.
No problem. Be right back.
While she's getting that, I'm going to show you how these guys they look juicy, right? So we're going to give them, they're in a colander, and we're going to give them a squeeze. We're going to give them a rinse and a squeeze. They're ready, yeah. So because we've taken some of the water out, they get softer and softer. Thank you so much. And we're going to give them a rinse in cold water. And a gentle squeeze, okay? So just gonna give them a little pat here to squeeze out any excess water. We rinsed off the salt. Okay, so there they are. You see they're getting a little floppier, and that's normal, and that's fine. If you want it crunchy, then don't salt it. All right, so that's that, and now we're gonna build our dressing in a second here. If you can scroll up just a sec for those. Yes.
There's
so
lots of elements to this recipe.
Lots of elements, but you know what? These are elements that are kind of common in most cooking that you're going to be doing if you're doing Japanese cooking. So rice wine vinegar,
a classic.
2 tablespoons of that. We're going to put soy as well, and not too heavy on the soy. And then sesame oil, toasted sesame oil. Delicious. And then if you wanted ginger, you could put some ginger in there as well. Salt. you don't really need salt because of the soy, which is a fermented soy, and it gets very salty. So we'll toss that there, but ginger's a nice addition, and toss that in there. And give it a little bit of a toss, and that's that. So in terms of a salad, oh, the other thing sometimes people like, and I'm a wimp, Mary I don't think is a wimp, but some people will put some hot, like hot chili flake into this.
The bravest among us.
Yes. So now this is ready. So everything is going to be ready at once. It's going to be beautiful. All right, so now is the time when we want to get ourselves set up sort of in a line here. We have our fillings, we have our rice, and we have our nori paper right here. I'm holding this bowl of water because we're going to be using that for two different things. We're going to use the water to seal the nori, the seaweed rolls, and we're going to use it when we clean our knife off between cuts. So this is something you can find at most grocery stores. I learned this, I don't know where, but it makes for a much easier cleanup if you wrap your sushi mat in plastic wrap, so you're not getting little bits of rice down through the cracks and whatnot. So are we ready? Have people in the chat done this before?
I just asked. I just said, time for a poll. Who has made their own sushi before?
Yeah.
It's a question we should have asked at the beginning.
Yeah.
Let's see.
So this is where you're going to be blown away. This is where it feels a little bit like arts and crafts. It is an art, to be honest. So you're going to take your one toasted nori and put it shiny side down. I'm going to do a regular roll first, and then we'll see if we're feeling up for a inside-out roll. So we're going to lay that down, and then we're going to have our sushi rice, which has that little vinegar, and we're going to press it all the way across our roll, almost completely around. Just a thin layer. You can do this with your hands if you want to. You can do this with wet hands. This is a great job for a kid, right? And I'm just leaving a little bit across the top, a little bit of space across the top here, and that's where you'll see in a second we're going to seal it closed. So I like to have a nice even layer of sushi. You don't have to press it down, of sushi rice, and then we're going to build our beautiful, sort of the beautiful interior with our cucumber. And if you want to, if you're like, oh, this is too long, if you're really picky about it, you can break it to the size that you need.
Totally build your own.
Build your own. And I like to put it this is where I like to put it so that it looks nice in the middle when you roll it up. Okay, and then don't forget our gorgeous spicy tuna. We're just going to lay that down here. So pretty. And if you're like, I really want to make sushi, but I'm not really sure, I'm not comfortable with the raw aspect of it, you can use smoked salmon and cream cheese. That's really, really popular. And still delicious. You still have all that same sort of fish and rice flavor going on. That's one of my kids' favorites, because the idea maybe of raw fish isn't a luxury idea to them yet.
Totally. Maybe like a marinated tofu.
Yes.
With all your veggies. Avocado rolls are great.
Avocado
that
straight
could be the
up.
star of the store.
Yep. And then I also recently heard the super budget version of this roll is using canned tuna.
Oh.
And all the same spicy. I mean, you do what you got to do, right, for your sushi fix. So this is where then I'm using the edge of the mat, and I'm going to roll this right over itself. And then this is the tricky part that just takes practice, friends. Don't be shy. Even if it's ugly, it's still going to be delicious. And then I'm just pushing it towards the top that I wet with. You'll see how it curled a little bit. That's where I wet it with some water. Oh my, this one is bigger than I intended.
That is the monster roll.
That's
our hero roll right there.
Okay, so I got it to the section where it's going to close. And then this is a trick I learned. I kind of roll it back and forth like this over that seam so that you're really pressing it together like that. Okay, so there she is. That's bigger than I intended, but that's all right. And then the trick here is to have a clean and super sharp knife. So maybe you have with you a little cloth and your bowl of water, because having a little bit of wetness on the knife is okay, so there's no goo on it. But again, having a super sharp knife is really the ticket here. We're going to cut these into hopefully manageable sized pieces, and we're going to make some beautiful rolls.
Look at those.
Oh, just you wait,
Dolores
Mary.
in the chat is saying she makes it look so easy.
This
Yeah,
is
that's
a lot
why
of
we love Chef
practice.
Krista.
Okay, now look though. So it's getting kind of gooey
Uh-huh.
on here, and you could see that I was having this very uncomfortable, not so smooth sawing motion. So go ahead and wet it so that it's just a one and done.
Does it make sense that maybe you have to do that? I mean, you're doing it already, what, 3-4 times for that one roll? Would it make
Yeah.
sense to do it in between every cut even?
You can
Or is that
definitely do it
overkill?
in every cut. And also remember, like if you have lots of other ingredients in there, maybe you are going to have to do it between every cut. And then
Definitely.
this is the beautiful part, is where you get to see the spiral and all our ingredients in there. Make yourself a beautiful plate. Oh, there's a good avocado piece. My kids will be fighting for that one. And there you go. And then it's served typically with some soy sauce and with some wasabi and pickled ginger. So fun fact, the pickled ginger is for cleansing your palate. It's not for piling on top of the sushi. Some people do that. Typically, it's for cleansing your palate. And it's not necessarily it's not a condiment. It's between bites of different kinds. And then the wasabi, which is a root that is also very, very spicy, that typically, sometimes sushi chefs will roll that into the sushi, but that typically, traditionally, in Japan, they would put a little bit of that right on the meat, just the meat part, and then dip that into the soy sauce and have it just like that.
Folks, we're learning how to eat sushi today. Perhaps one of the most
Traditionally,
important parts.
but you know,
Love
however
it.
you like it, eat it how you like it. I'm going to put this in my mouth, so
Very good.
you talk to the
Okay,
folks
great.
in the chat
And I
and tell
will.
them again about that knife giveaway. That's amazing.
Oh my gosh. Do not forget, on April 24th, a mere few weeks from now, if you've already signed up for the Cutting Edge, you're already in the drawing, but you have to attend class to claim your potential prize, which might be a knife set valued at $250 from our friends at Schmidt Brothers Cutlery. It's huge. Are you loving your bite right now?
I'm loving my bite.
Making you talk with your mouth full?
It's so good, and it's so spicy.
Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect.
So this might be just what you do. You can see I have still plenty enough. That made one roll. I have enough here to keep going. I know folks in the studio are excited because
Oh, yeah. We'll be stretching, getting ready for that.
And we have this delightful cucumber salad as well. Friends, if you have questions about the knife that I used, the other thing I wanted to show you, fun times, is with this same block, I know we were talking earlier about the use of kitchen shears. You could take all of these same ingredients and turn it into a bowl. If you're frustrated with that first roll and you're like, I can't do it, that's fine. Turn it into a bowl with all these same ingredients. Use your shears on your sushi and just cut it into squares and then cut it over the top of your, of your bowl. And you'll still have all those amazing flavors, and you'll still be a little closer to sushi, right? So yeah. Are there any other questions or things we should talk about?
Just everyone's so stoked about the knife giveaway. But
Yes.
I think, let's see. Yeah, I don't think there's any new questions in the chat. Why don't we talk about what's coming up
Yes.
during that giveaway class?
Awesome. So please, please, please check out all of the classes that we're doing with Schmidt Brothers Cutlery. You can also find their knives online at schmidtbrothers.com. Look for it there. The next class and the class that you have to be here for that giveaway is on April 24th, and it's a shaved asparagus citrus salad with honeyed walnuts.
Come on, so good. Yeah, join us, catch
delicious.
us there.
And just know that a sharp knife is a safe knife. Treat yourself to a really good set of knives. You will be amazed at how great it feels and how much more efficient you are in the kitchen. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. Don't forget, your cutting edge is waiting. Get it today at Schmidt Brothers Cutlery.